Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I have a lot of new viewers. Thank you guys for joining me. And big hats off and thank you to my regular viewers and subscribers. Really appreciate you guys. And today is the day where you submitted your questions for my political spirit guides to answer. Thank you so much for that. In the future, people always want to know, how do I post questions? Well, if you subscribe and you comment on occasion, the YouTube algorithm may decide to show you my post. So we have community post. The community posts show up in your video feed. Maybe even looks like a video, but it's really just a picture with a words post on it. That's typical if you're watching me via a phone. If you're watching on a TV, you don't really get to see the community post. It's just a thing, I guess. It just doesn't work with TVs, with the options you have while you're watching with the TV. So about every week or so, I go on my community page and I ask for questions. Now, you can find my community page regardless of what device you're looking at. If you click on the icon, and then you'll go to my main page, my main YouTube page, where, among other things, you can find playlists. You can look at all the videos that I've done, but you can also click on community and you can see my latest community post. This is part one. So if you're watching this and you say, gosh, I've got a burning question I want Susan's guides to answer, do that. Click on the icon, go to community, and then under that post where I'm asking for political questions, put your question. I will likely go back and visit that page again to update the questions. So there will be a part two. Let me put it that way. Let's get started. Talofec, and I don't know if this is an acronym of your name, but thank you so much for your question, dear. The first question we're going to start with is Maui, the terrible, horrendous fires in Maui. My heart goes out to all of you in Maui, around Maui, in the whole Hawaii. I have a lot of viewers. I've met some of you guys. My heart goes out to you. I know that you are Hawaii strong. I know that you are going to help each other. I know that. I've met you. I know that your heart is connected to all of your other Hawaii residents. So the question is, will I tell you guys, or the guides tell you more about the fires in Maui? And is there any message to humanity these days? So about the fires, well, first of all, the guides would say that it was malfeasance, meaning, maybe you could look it up, because when I'm connected to the spirit guides right now, I'm channeling this. I'm about 40% Susan, 60% spirit guides. I don't have 60% of my brain right now. 60% of my brain is on loan. So malfeasance, making a mistake, being, I can't think of all the definitions right now. You can look it up. However, there's also the guides want to say there's such a thing as criminal malfeasance. Now, this is important because was it an accident, right? You might say, well, I was accidentally stupid, right? That would be malfeasance, right? I accidentally did this thing that caused a lot of issues. Criminal malfeasance is sort of like, I'm not going to use that analogy. They're talking to me about a different analogy, but it's criminal is criminal. So the point here, you guys, is that I read a report. I don't know if this is true. I don't know how much of this is going to make it out into the mainstream news, because when you have a disaster zone, there's so much going on, and the media wants those little quick sound bites, and the media doesn't, they're not in the habit. I mean, this isn't exactly true. They're just telling me, but I can't answer these questions in a quick way because there's 7,000 different permutations, 7,000. Well, in this case, it didn't work, but in this case, there are no absolutes. However, in this case with Maui, I believe that there was criminal malfeasance. I believe I saw reportings that some of the hydrants did not have water or enough water. Any place you live, typically with any sizable town, you see the fire department going around testing or opening up to make sure that fire hydrant works. I heard a reporting that there wasn't enough water, or there wasn't water. that's malfeasance. That's criminal malfeasance. I really feel like I'm getting a Democrat who could be a state senator, a state representative, all the way to a U.S. senator, a U.S. representative, is going to really not let this go. And they're giving me chills on this, which means there's a lot of power, a lot of energy behind this message. I feel like someone wants someone held accountable. There's the energy suggests that one of these politicians, one of these leaders wants someone held accountable. There is an accountability that needs to happen here. This was not, of course, right. So, of course, the fire, I believe, was an accident. I believe they call it a flash fire. I don't know if that's a real term in fire lingo, but they want to call it a flash, some kind of flash fire. It literally was almost like an explosion, like the fire exploded is what they're telling me. It wasn't like a typical wildfire where it went along and someone could say, here it comes and here's the trajectory based on the winds and whatnot. This was almost as if an explosion. That's what they just keep saying, an explosion of fire. Now, I don't think the fire, let me ask them. Right. Okay. Right. So there's a fine line. There's a razor's edge here, right? Between someone setting this fire or a fire and someone having malfeasance or someone not being careful or someone not following set protocols. There's going to be big investigations in this. And the thing is, it's not going to be swept under the rug. They're not going to allow this to be swept under the rug. They're going to hold people accountable. They're going to hold people accountable in every stratosphere of the government and or stratosphere of the community. You don't get a pass here. So why wasn't there water? Or why wasn't there pressure? Or why wasn't this? I mean, you're going to see people really raked over the coals, really investigated, because this cannot stand, is what I'm getting from your leaders, from your Democratic leaders, is this cannot stand. And also from the community, right? So the community there, that was the nexus of the fire, they want answers. No one is going to push them aside. They're very strong. They're very vocal. They have a lot of heart involved in this situation. And I've been through disaster, right? I mean, a similar disaster. We didn't have as many deaths, but it was definitely devastated my life, devastated my community. So I understand where you guys are coming from. And I don't mean to say that, that other people didn't have heart, but there was a sense of being defeated. A lot of times when you have a disaster, you're just defeated. You're not in your right mind. You're not making the right decisions. You're just literally knocked off of your center. Your power is here. You're knocked off of your power. These Hawaiians, they're not knocked off of their power. They're very much still connected to their power, perhaps maybe because of their connection to the land, right? Or the culture. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm here to tell you that this isn't going to just be swept out under any rug. Whatever happened, whoever could be responsible, even if it's just for a small piece of this, is going to really be investigated and held accountable. Okay, so I'm not saying that someone said it. I'm not saying that this was all criminal. I'm saying that if you don't follow protocols, if you don't follow city code, if you don't do what is mandated by the law, in this case, you will be held accountable. There is an energy that suggests that these people are untouchable, or people that aren't held accountable, or out of the realm of being held accountable for whatever reason. They're going to be held accountable. I mean, really held accountable, criminally held accountable. they don't see this coming. Those people don't see this coming because they're untouchable. Here we go. The same energy seems to be replicating across the United States and also across the world, right? Those that are untouchable don't get held accountable. And the energy worldwide is that you can be held accountable. And we are now going to hold you accountable in ways you never, ever experienced. Perhaps in your lineage, perhaps in your ancestry, generationally, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents could have been getting away with various environmental or other types of crimes, and you've gotten away with it because you have money or status or whatever it is you have. Those days are over, folks. Those days are over, really and truly, worldwide. It's not going to be a snap of the fingers. It's not going to happen overnight. But as these things happen, you will find that the people that are the victims will not give them a pass. So that's what I see happening there in Hawaii. The other question was, any message to humanity? Well, the question to humanity is that we're all in this together. It's a sense of community, a sense of humans are all in this together, and we need to all stay in this together. We need to all support each other. And really, again, it goes back to that message of there's the powerful few who have perhaps been running amok and creating a lot of problems here for the many, for the community. And the community is coming together to say, we are stronger than you. We want something different. We're going to hold you accountable, and we're going to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So the other thing that I see happening is Hawaii, along with California, because they've experienced these really devastating community fires that have just taken out communities. They're going to be on the forefront of wildfire technology, of wildfire notification systems. I see, I see this, maybe they already have this. Sometimes I tell you about things and you're like, hey, we already have that. Well, then there it is, right? But I don't know about this. I'm literally seeing smoke alarms on trees. Now, I think that they might be calling them smoke sensors, but I see solar powered, smoke sensors so I guess also weather systems where you would be also monitoring the wind. Also, there would be a very sensitive smoke sensor on there. And the problem with this, I guess, in the past is that people burn stuff. I was just in a different place. Oh, by the way, I have a new background. I was just in a different part of Colorado, and the fire hazard was moderate, which I guess to them is like normal. And I saw this guy burning one limb in his yard. I mean, one limb. I didn't even understand that, right? So I guess the problem here is that these smoke sensors, there'd be a lot of false starts or false starts for better. I want to just keep moving. So false reports. So again, with that, we're going to have much stronger burn bans. Now, again, I'm going to say it again because I'm going to say it every video, I guess, because it's what the guys want to say. More regulations. Instead of calling it less freedom, because that triggers everybody, let's just call it more regulations. I'm sorry. We cannot put the risk of a fire to this community because one Bubba wants to burn one branch in his yard. That's just ridiculous. And it really does speak to the bigger energy, does it not? Of this MAGA energy of, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm as important as all of you 10,000 people. There's your whole lesson right there. You are not as important as 20 people, right? They want to talk about the pandemic, and I can't say certain words, but there it was again, right? We chose to, we chose to mask up to protect ourselves and others. It was a community thing. I've done videos on this where they talked about how the lesson of that was community. I'm protecting myself and I'm also protecting you. But here we are, the MAGAs saying, screw all of y'all. I'm not wearing no mask. I'm not doing anything, right? Same energy. Can you guys connect these dots? Am I doing a good job of explaining how these dots are connected? We're still learning the same lesson. Bubba wants to burn his branch. And meanwhile, there might be a fire that ends up affecting a whole community. So we're going to have big burn bans, much more control. Again, they want to also show me GUNSs, guns. Your right to own a machine of war does not eclipse my right to feel safe, or my right for my child to feel safe in schools, right? This is where we are. It's the same lesson, you guys. Can you see how the energy is applied evenly over the world? The same energy, different. It's manifesting in different lessons, same baseline energy. Okay, I'm going to move on. Right. I'm going to move on. Thank you, though, for your question. I appreciate you so much. Tracy, I answered your question above about the Maui fires. Okay, Barbara Odom says, what is in Mark Meadows' near future? So Mark Meadows has disappeared, right? I mean, nobody's seen him. He's not been anywhere. He's not been in the news. I believe he's in the witness protection program, because this is where we are, folks. We are in a place now where things are getting real. The threats are real. These people have now understand this is not a game. Go back to what we just talked about with the powerful being held accountable. Same lesson. So Mark Meadows is being protected because he's flipped. In his near future, I see him in a court. I don't know why I see wearing black tie or a black suit. I don't know why that's important. It's harsh. It feels hard. I don't know why that's important. I'm getting like a restriction. So black and white, he's wearing black and white. Everything is, he's not, perhaps maybe what part of this message is that he's not out there shopping at whatever, Taylor or whatever. He's wearing off the rack something that the FBI bought for him and said, this will do, put this on, right? I mean, I guess maybe there might be something about his clothing that people react or some, I don't know what that means. But the bottom line is he's flipped. It does not mean that he's going to get off scot-free. I do think he's going to do jail time. I do think that his life, I have to be careful what I say just because YouTube, but his life could be at risk in some way for sure. But even after he does jail time, I don't see him doing big federal penitentiary jail. I see him doing what we call club fed, like a federal prison. But he would be safer in a federal prison, because they're typically like white collar crimes. You know what I mean? They're not typically murders and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, his near future is court and then jail. Basically, he's washed up. They want to use the words washed up, meaning it's over for him, right? I mean, he's not going to come out of this and make some kind of comeback, I don't think, because his life is really at risk. Like, other people might be able, and I can't think of his name, but other people might be able to turn on Trump and be okay. For some reason, Mark Meadows is not one of those people. So he's flipped 100%. I get 100%. Like I think I'm reading on somebody that I think has flipped 30%, like or Rudy Giuliani, right? I did that video where he opens his trench coat, like in the old days, you would see those cartoons where they open their trench coat and they have, watch it. Like, what do you want to buy? You know what I mean? Like my personal roaming store. And I saw Giuliani open his trench coat. Who do you want to knock out here? Like, I want to work with you, feds. Here, how about some information about this person? Here's some information about this person. But he's not given everything. He's simply trying to make a deal. He's haggling. Giuliani is haggling over, and it doesn't matter, because I see like Jack Smith just going like this, like, go whatever. I have to let you do this because this is but I'm just going to wait until you're done because we don't care. We have everything we need against you and you're going down, right? So in that case, Rudy Giuliani was trying to just flip to a degree. He's trying to give over what he could. He was just trying to haggle. Was this good enough? Well, what about this? I'll double this, this kind of thing, right? Meadow says 100% flipped. Okay, let me move on. Thank you for your question. Tati Jim says, this is really the question of the hour, right? Today's Monday, the 14th of August. And it looks like Fani Willis is getting ready to drop the hammer. So Tati Jim says, may we ask how many perps will go down aside from the usual suspects? Are there any surprise arrest names, anything like that? So what's interesting right off the bat is that last week, I was really getting this energy that Michigan was going to go first and Fani was going to wait. But it's almost like the energy suggests that we're in like a race. I'm seeing like, and I don't particularly like NASCAR, but I was forced to watch it a little bit as a child. So, you see the cars going round and round and round, jockeying for, position. And then sometimes they have to pull over into the pit stop and get tires changed or whatnot. This is what's happened with Michigan. Michigan was green lighted to go, but they pulled over. And now Fani's going. Now, I do think she's going to announce the indictments this week. It may not be on the time schedule you guys think it will be. Her and Jack Smith, this is all about strategy. This is all about strategy, because if Fani says, I'm going to be announcing or I'm going to be doing this, then we all know who's all going to descend on Atlanta. And it's not going to be pretty. And I know that she's preparing. I know she's got barricades up. I know that her prosecutors are working from home. Like that's any safer. I don't know. But anyway, she's doing what she can do to prepare for this potential problem. And I have told you guys, I have a lot of new viewers. You guys don't know all the things the guys have been talking about for the past 2 years, but they've been talking about Atlanta being ground zero. Atlanta is ground zero. They talked about this 6 months ago. Yeah, I think Atlanta is going to be ground zero for a lot of reasons. First of all, the unrest, the civil unrest is going to come to those types of cities. It's not going to happen in blood red Florida, unless it's in Miami. It's going to happen in the Democratic cities, in the racially mixed cities, because we know that these outside influences are going to come in and try to make something happen. They need to make a distraction. They need to make something happen that would help them. And also, these kinds of things are cash cows, right? So back when we were having those riots in Portland, Oregon, a few years ago, the guides were telling you guys that these were saboteurs. They kept using the word saboteurs, meaning there were people going into the BLM peaceful protest and then knocking glass out of businesses. This is all recorded. This is all public information. They weren't BLM. They were saboteurs trying to make BLM look bad, trying to escalate everything, trying to escalate violence, escalate property damage. Okay. So, because when this happens, they can take those videos and they can show them to their MAGAs, and the MAGAs open up their wallets, and then it's rinse, wash, rinse, repeat. It's a cycle, and it's been a very profitable cycle for them. So this is the kind of problem that can be happening in Atlanta. Okay, so if there are protests, I advise you just not to go. Don't go. Just don't go. When something goes down, I'll be here to tell you whether or not it's safe or not. But right now, I wouldn't go. I would stay far away from that, because they're provocateurs. They're saboteurs and provocateurs. They're provoking. Okay, now, the weird thing is, I'm not kidding. Fani and Jack Smith are hard to read. I've told you guys, Alvin Bragg is an open book. Like, you can just walk right into Alvin Bragg's energy, and I can tell you what the man ate for breakfast this morning. Okay. Fani No, Fani is like a steel fortress. Nobody is going to get into her inner workings. Nobody's going to get into her brain. Nobody's going to read her energy. When you go up to Fani Willis, you see a steel fortress. That's it. There's no windows. There's no doors. That's it. Now, with Jack Smith, I can get a little bit more information, but not much. So I have a hard time reading those two because they're really good about protecting their energy, who has access to their energy, to what they're thinking, what they're doing. But having said that, the thing that's interesting is the energy around Fani Willis. I mean, there's ways around this. You know, if you're a problem solver like me, you just go to her, you go to her deputies, or you go to her prosecutors, or you go, to her family. I mean, sadly, I'm not really prying, to be honest with you. There really are ethics here. I think I stay on the outside of their energy. I could go inside, but that's not ethically correct for me. So I stay on the outside of their energy, and whatever they're projecting, then I read. If you're going to stand there and project what you're doing, then other people can read it. That, to me, that's fair game. Okay. So that's what I'm doing here. So but the thing that's interesting is this is performative. The word they want to use is performative. She's doing this because she needs to do it. It's a little bit like Jack Smith when he took Trump to court in Florida. It was performative. He knew he had to do it. He knew he was going to get ailing cannon. He knew he was going to be stopped at every red light. He knew he was going to have problems. He knew it was going to eat up his prosecutor's time, but he had to do it. Okay, so he just said, we know this is going to be a hard thing. We're just going to do this. Now I'm going to focus on DC. And that's what he's done, right? He's making triple the time in DC that he did in Florida. Okay, so this is similar to what's going on with Fani Willis right now. She's doing something performative. She's got all her ducks lined up. She's got all the ducks lined up at the fair when you go ding, 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 and you shoot them down. This is it. It's like, it's done. She's 100% prepared. She's 100% sure that she's going to do what she needs to do. And the people that have committed crimes are going to be held accountable. And there's not going to be a lot of fanfare, meaning there's not going to be a lot of wiggle room for these people to scream foul play or blah, blah, blah. I mean, they can, but it doesn't matter. She's got them dead to rights. Now, the thing that's interesting is there's something more. And this is what's got me interested. There's something more. Yes, August is a big kaboom, but there's a bigger kaboom in September. Okay, that's what they just told me. So I guess, when you do a court case, there's something about discovery. We're discovering what the other side has, right? So not only does Trump's people or these fake electors get to discover what the Fani Willis has against them, she gets to get more information from them. The information she gets from them is like gold, and she takes that and hands it to Jack Smith. Now, we already saw this happen. We've already seen this happen, that the court was asked, can this person share this information with Jack Smith? And the court agreed. That was with the E. Jean Carroll case. So this has already been precedented, that these courts are allowing one case to share information with another case. So this is a big pow, but there's a bigger school of fish that's going to be caught a little bit later based on this court case. Now, so that's very interesting to me because I didn't understand the energy, because I've always thought Fani Willis is going to be the one that hits it out of the park. Fani Willis is going to be the one who really does the damage here, who really holds people to account, because she's not under some of the same rules. The rules are different. She's going for RICO charges, we think. I think so. I did a video called RICO. RICO is its name-o. Singing the song to bingo is this. about 2 years ago. So I've been seeing RICO charges for 2 years, right? So I think she is going to go after RICO charges. Georgia has a very strong, the state of Georgia has a very strong RICO charge, very robust RICO laws. And what Jack Smith is going after is conspiracy. They're different, similar, but different. Similar in the sense that you can grab one person and connect the dots and get a whole bunch of people, but different. Now, let me just ask some questions. When you guys don't ask specific questions, the guides, it's hard for me to, because I'm connected to the guides, it's hard for me to come up with names unless Susan asked the question. That's why I ask you guys to ask questions. So if you said, are these 10 people going to go down? I could go through that list and say yes or no. But because there's no names here, Susan has to think on her little 40% of all this little engine that she's got going of some names. And the name that I probably think of most is Lynsey Graham. So my question is, I don't know. They have been talking about Raffensperger for a whole 24 hours. I'm sure that he is pivotal point, a pivotal witness, a pivotal energy. But let's talk about surprises. Is Lynsey Graham implicated? He's implicated, yes. Implicated is different than indicted. There's a subtle difference, but it's a big difference. Is Lynsey Graham going to be indicted? I might be wrong, but I'm getting no. Indicted. Is he one of the indictments? Is Lynsey Graham? See, I'm getting a yes, no, and I don't know how to read that. I don't know what that means. Sometimes that means we were just talking about this, right? That he may not be on the Georgia list, but the information that is obtained during this case could put him on the Jack Smith list. I think he's on the Jack Smith list. I'm not sure he's on the Georgia list. If he is on the Georgia list, he's a bit player. He's a minor. I mean, it's going to make headlines. Lynsey Graham indicted, right? It's going to make headlines, but it doesn't mean that, it still doesn't mean if he is indicted, there's not a lot of energy around the indictment. That's the way I would read this. If he is indicted, there's not a lot of energy around the indictment, meaning he's not going to be found guilty. Okay. So was he worth her putting all this energy into indicting, right? He could be indictable, that the energy could say, yes, he's indictable, but did he get indicted? I can't tell you, because he's going to go down. I see him going down, but I feel like, again, that if he is indicted, it's not, I don't see him going to jail for this. I see him going, I see him stepping down. I see him hounded by reporters. I see him hounded by citizens. I see him ruined. They want to say he's ruined. Lynsey Graham is ruined. He's lost money. He's lost millions of dollars through fines, fees, attorneys' fees, speaking engagements, power. He's ruined. And so the energy suggests that is punishment. So if you guys would ask me, is he going to get punished? The spirit guides would say, yeah, he's getting punished, because in his energy, this is like going to jail. Losing everything is like going to jail. So it's similar energy. Maybe not for you, maybe not for me. Maybe we think he should go to jail. I'm just telling you what the energy suggests. So I don't really know if I can, maybe tonight I will go through a list of anybody that could be potentially involved. Of course, Trump is going to be indicted there. There's something with Raffensperger, you guys. I don't know. I'm not sure if he's not going to be implicated in something. I'm not sure. maybe it's good, but it's a lot of energy around him. It's when I see a lot of energy around somebody, it's usually not good, but maybe it is, but I don't know why. So there might be a surprise with Raffensperger. He might have more, he may come out more robustly against Trump than anybody thought he would, but there's a surprise there. Good, bad, or ugly, he's going to surprise people. I mean, yeah, there's going to be surprise arrests, but I can't tell you who they are. I wish I could tell you more, but I at least gave you the background of the energy of what's going on here. Fani Willis is going to bring people to their knees. Is she going to bring anybody in Congress? Is she going to indict? I feel like, yes, she's going to indict sitting Congress people, U.S. Congress people or state Congress people, politicians. She's going to indict elected officials. Again, you guys, I don't understand how this can be possible, but this is not done. There's a 1-2 punch. There's this punch and then a second punch. I don't know if she'll reload up, if she'll just do the lackeys right now and then sort of recalibrate and then go after some bigger fish. But the guides keep saying 1-2, 1-2. Whatever she does this week may not be the final thing. Again, this is all about strategy. All about strategy that we don't understand. A lot of it has to do with trying to keep these MAGAs from being violent, from going out into the streets, from doing something that we're all going to regret, right? So there's this sense, again, I've talked about it before, where they're sort of playing, like I said, Michigan may go first and then Fani will go and then Jack Smith will go. They want to keep, where is the ball? What shell is it under? They want to keep everybody guessing, because if you can keep these people guessing, they don't have a target. So again, there's going to be this sense of power plays. Okay, I'm going to move on because I just don't feel like I'm saying anything substantive. All right, Scarlett 7806. Since I live in the Carolinas, will Lynsey Graham and Mark Meadows be indicted? I just talked about that. Yes. Don't worry, Lynsey Graham is going to be out of your hair pretty shortly, actually. Within the year, he'll be out of your hair. Again, so now when I go into Lynsey Graham's energy and I'm not connected to Fani Willis, just teachable moment here. When I'm thinking about Fani Willis and Lynsey Graham, that's one thing. Now, when I go into Fani Willis without Lynsey Graham, just Lynsey Graham by himself, and I told you he was going to be out in a year, I really get a sense that the Republican Party's falling apart. They don't want to be subservient to these MAGAs. They know they're not going to win a presidential election like this. They're not going to win seats like this. They do not represent the majority of Americans. They do not. They don't even represent the majority of Republicans. So what I saw was someone outing Lynsey Graham to get rid of him. Again, I've talked about this a lot. If you're a problem, you need to go, right? If you're a problem for the powers that be, the powers that are funding you, so if Lynsey Graham gets indicted, then he's a threat because he's going to sing like a canary, right? He's going to sing like a canary and ask for witness protection. This is actually an opportunity for him to get rid of his handlers, to get rid of his puppeteers, and to be safe. You can't be safe if the government's not protecting you. You've got to dance to the tune that your handlers are singing. Okay. So if he has an opportunity to go state's witness and be guaranteed his safety, then he'll flip. Now, if he's going to flip, then he's not useful and he's a threat. Okay. So then you start having situations happen where they could either do the Madison Cawthorn thing, right? Remember Madison Cawthorn, the rah, 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 red meat, handsome young man in the wheelchair, super, super MAGA, super Republican. Well, it turns out this young man had some pictures taken of him where he was very much enjoying himself, dressed in some kind of fishnet, bodice thing with makeup on. And that was after he had the audacity to talk to the press about these Republican cocaine parties. He started talking about the Republican cocaine parties, and all of a sudden these pictures appeared out of nowhere. And then before you know it, he was gone. Tucker Carlson gone. Overnight. Boom, bye-bye. This is what I'm talking about with Lynsey Graham. If he's not useful, if he's a threat, he'll be gone. They will out him. They will show America and the world the dirt they have on him, and he will be gone. Now honestly, the energy suggests that's putting him out of his misery, because he is miserable right now. He's miserable. He's a lot like Pence or Cheney in a sense that I don't agree with their policies, but they're not really criminals. You know what I mean? They're stopped. They tried to stop before they crossed the MAGA criminal line, right? So he doesn't agree with the MAGAs. He really does not like them. He hates them. He hates Trump. He hates having to dance every day for his little shekels, his little food. He really hates it. He hates his life. So if they out him and the dirt they have on him, whatever that is, he would be relieved. He would literally be relieved. These people this is something I need to say, I guess, too. This also, Chuck Grassley is very similar in the sense that Chuck Grassley wanted to retire. He was ready to retire. He told everybody he was retiring. And then here he comes back and runs again. Want to know why? Because he's owned. This is for entertainment purposes only, and allegedly he's owned. And they said, no, get back on the field and play your role. We're not done with you yet. Nobody said you could retire. Get back over here. Same thing with Lynsey Graham. Same thing with a lot of these politicians, right? They're not able to retire. They're not able to step down. And what I got earlier in the week was these entities, these people, these countries that own these politicians will use them up. In other words, again, you're not your own. You can't just step down. We don't care if we crush you. We don't care if your reputation is ruined. We don't care if your money is drained. We don't care about any of that. We will use you until you're nothing, until you're literally worth nothing to us, and we'll discard you. And discarding can be a lot of different things, if you understand what I'm saying. Now, on the other hand, we don't want you to go to jail unless we know you're going to jail for us. Like Weisselberg. If you're going to jail for us, then you're on our team. Then yeah, you're taking one for the team. We got you. Supposedly. So can you guys understand this? If Lynsey Graham is indicted, maybe he flipped. Maybe that's why he's not indicted. Maybe that's why, or he's indicted and he's flipping. That's why the energy is so yes, no. I can't get a beat on it. But do you understand now a little bit better about the energy behind what's going on with Lynsey Graham and with these countries that start with an R, that start with an S, that start with a C, that are controlling our elected officials? And we'll literally burn them to the ground, discard them as nothing. It's very, very sad. And there's nothing they can do because the stuff, so Lynsey Graham, it's not like they caught him in a dress. That's not going to be a problem. Or kissing a man. That's really not going to be a problem. I mean, maybe it ruins him. Maybe it ruins his reputation, whatever that. Okay. Yeah. So that's something, but really and truly what they have on these people is criminal, because at some point you're going to say, enough, I don't care. Publish the photos of me doing XYZ with this person, don't care. But if instead it is, we can publish the photos of you doing XYZ with this person and it's criminal and you're going to go to jail for it. Well, now I'm going to have to think about it a little differently, right? So it's criminal that they have on these people. That's why they're dancing faster and faster and faster and faster. And believe me, these countries are going to ruin them. They're going to suck them dry of whatever they can give them and then leave them discarded. What does that mean? It means we're going to have a lot of empty seats in the Congress and in the Senate, which I've talked about in the past. Let me move on. User, did you put your password on here, honey? You really shouldn't. It's SL2CY3BQ9C. That sounds like a password to me. Don't put your password in your username, crib. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Will it come out that the prosecutor Governor DeSantis was investigating DeSantis or 45? This is like a really big, like, again, when we talk about, they want to show me Maui again. We want to talk about these smoke alarms in the forest, right? These sensors, these early detection warning systems is what they would say. This is an early detection warning system. This woman was voted in by a majority of her district. The will of the people voted her in, yet the governor was able to remove her. This is Dictator 101, basically. Welcome, freshmen. This is Dictator 101. We're going to progress to 202 here shortly, but this is bad. This is terrible bad. It's just, there's warnings everywhere happening, and we're going to get to it. But again, the energy suggests we're going to get to it at the 11th hour, maybe the 11th hour and 58 minutes, which is going to give all of us a heart attack. But we're going to deal with it, but a little too slow for me. Okay, will it come out that the prosecutor was investigating DeSantis or 45? Yeah, I think that's her office, right? So her office was investigating her. I don't know if I can say present tense investigating, but future, like maybe she ran on the idea that that everybody's held accountable, that I'm going to go toe to toe with whoever. What is that, you guys? The same energy we've been talking about since the beginning of this video, right? The power of the people versus the power of the few. Here we are again, same energy, same lesson happening all over, right? So yeah, I think it's going to come out, but there's nothing we can do about it. There's not enough laws. We didn't see this happening. We didn't create the laws. And then now we've got Republicans that are in office with very much a minority of the vote, making new laws that allows governors to do things like this, which are very dictatorial. And the only way, I'm afraid, to get this remedied is for the people, the power of the people, to get in the streets and to say, our vote isn't counting. In this case, we voted for this prosecutor and she's been removed. In this case, this district has been annulled, and it's a minority district. I mean, it's the people, the power of the people are going to get in the streets. Now, before that happens, what we have is sort of a stopgap or some sort of initial energetic ploy to fix this. We have Biden doing everything he can. We have the DOJ doing everything they can. We have even the courts acting more like fair courts, not all of them, obviously, but more than when Trump was in office. We have the Supreme Court sometimes ruling fairly. There is some changes. So the checks and balances that were put into play in this country for this very reason are really working. Not fast enough. Not fast enough. But I don't know if somebody asked this question in this group of questions, but I do, I have told you guys, DeSantis is going down. I've been telling you guys this for a long time. It's just a matter of the energy catching up to him. And right now, something that I need to tell you guys is that this does apply to a lot of these questions, right? So listen, if you have Fani Willis going after elected officials, and you have Jack Smith going after a past president, and then going after elected officials, that's a lot of heat. That's a lot of heat in the kitchen. The powers that be, whether it's the Biden administration or whatever, the DOJ, has decided we can only handle so much heat in the kitchen. If we do all of this at once, we're going to have civil war. We're going to activate these people. These people are going to become activated. And then we're going to have, on top of dealing in the courts with these people, which is a very sterile, intellectual, unemotional thing to deal with, we're going to have emotional issues. We're going to have people in the streets. We're going to have mayhem. It's going to disrupt the economy. It's going to disrupt the safety of the citizens. It's going to make us look weak to our enemies. It's going to allow our enemies to come in and a little bit of a dust up is easier to bring into a bigger dust up, right? So if we start having some infighting and protest and things like that in the streets, it's very easy for these countries to then go into social media or drop in, however that is, provocateurs and saboteurs to make everything worse. So the DOJ is like, let us deal with this in the courts. Let us turn up the heat slowly. Let's try to deal with this slowly so that we don't activate some big emotional brouhaha that then becomes unmanageable, right? So I went to all of that energy because I was looking at DeSantis and I was thinking, why is it taking so long? I've seen him being taken out. I've seen him what is taking so long? I've told you guys this for months. I've seen money and washing machines. If you want to put that together, I've seen actionable criminal crimes allegedly. So what is taking so long? Well, when you put your prosecutor, off the job, that kind of helps you stay in business. That kind of helps you stay. That kind of helps you stay in power. But so the next level up is the DOJ, and the DOJ is busy. The DOJ is trying to really manifest putting a past president in jail. That takes precedent. It's taken precedent over a lot of things that we should be dealing with, like Mike Flynn. Well, we've got to deal with this president. This is the crisis number one in our crisis list. Maybe Flynn is 3. Maybe Tuberville is 4. Maybe, DeSantis is 5 or 8. So this is so hopefully you can understand. They cannot put all of these out at once. So what they're doing is they're gathering more data. They're gathering more evidence so that when they do go after DeSantis, again, it's much like Fani Willis. I've got all my ducks lined up. I'm at the county fair. Boom, 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 boom. My little 10 ducks. I'm going to shoot them down one after another with no problem. It's an open, shut case for DeSantis. So I do see him out by either December or next year. Okay, let me move on. Alfie35 says, what personal secret does Donald Trump have that he hopes no one will ever find out? Well, criminal. His number one thing is criminal secrets, allegedly. Again, I'm seeing Ivana's grave. I've told you guys from day one that something's in that grave, that it shouldn't be there. There's real criminal secrets, allegedly, could be even related to murder. Now, that's a new one. I've never said that before, but that's what I'm getting right now. So you asked the question, what personal secret does Donald Trump have and hopes will never get out? Well, you might think about his mushroom, the size of his mushroom, or you might think about other things like maybe alleged rapes, or really the thing that he has no money. The thing that really keeps him up at night more than the criminality is the fact that he doesn't have the money he says he does, that he doesn't have the power that he says he does, that he's a nobody and he's a nothing. He's a nothing taco, right? So that's what really keeps him up at night. But the personal secret that he hopes nobody ever finds out is that he has some connection. I don't know what that word is. Warrantable, some actionable criminal connection allegedly to a murder. Now you're going to ask, like, what kind of murders? And I'm going to tell you that there are murders that you don't even know the names of these people. Okay. You don't know the names of these people. They were nothing. They were expendable. Right. But I also think that when you go to Ivana, who's talked to me, I'm a medium. She's talked to me. She's told me they didn't have to do this. I wasn't going to out them. I knew how to play by the rules. I knew how to play the game. There was a non-disclosure, some kind of thing that was getting ready to end where she could talk more freely. But people think that's why she was off. I think it was because they sent a message to DJT. The message was to DJT. This can happen to you. This can happen to Ivanka, to Jared, to the boys, to the grandkids. Mind your business. Don't be a loudmouth, right? So that's the secret, is that he knows. Now, so if he knows they did that to his ex-wife, is he culpable? Yeah, I think so, because he didn't report it. So that's what I get with that. And I've never gotten that. The guides have talked around it a little bit. If you go into and look up the Donald Trump, whatever business, he had some managers that died in a plane crash or a helicopter crash. Donald was supposed to be on that flight and he didn't go for some reason, and those people died. There's something wrong there, y'all. That was also something that was made to go away. He's very mobbish. He doesn't ever say, go off this person. He would use words like, this person is a problem, or I've got a weed in my garden, some, different type of wording that let that person know to go do this thing. That's how mobsters stay out of jail, right? They don't ever say it. They try to keep their fingers clean, their fingerprints off of things. Okay, let me move on. Let's see. Yep. Okay, thank you for your question, Michelle Johnson. Finally, we have a question about Senator Tommy Tuberville, and I've read about him a few weeks ago. Will he face accountability for blocking military appointments? He has also lied about his primary residence. He lives in Florida, not in Alabama. Is he getting direct payments from Russia? I like that. You just go straight into, like, is he getting direct payments from Russia? That's funny. Oh, boy. Is he going to face accountability? Not really, not for the blocking the military appointments. I mean, they can go around him. Apparently, their Biden administration is working on some obscure is the word they want to use. Like they went back to the Senate, the rules. They went back to the rules, the rule book, the original rule book, and they said, what do we do? Senator parliamentarian, what options do we have? They're going to go all the way back, I understand, to the 1800s or something, and find some obscure rule that they can somehow put this person here, pull this lever, stand on one foot and twirl around, and then boom, they can go around him. Is he going to be held accountable for blocking these military appointments? Not legally, no. Again, this is things we're learning. The Republicans are giving us a master class in all of the loopholes that we have in our Constitution and our amendments and in our governance. So it's up to us to learn the lesson and to fix these loopholes. Now, you also said he lied about his primary residence in Florida and not Alabama. Apparently, there's other Republicans that have done this. And again, a lot of things we thought were laws are not laws. They're not really actionable. Or if it is a law, it's not actionable enough that the prosecutors think that we can get a win. Okay? It's gray. A lot of these gray areas depend on how the judge is going to rule. If there's not a lot of precedent, the judge can come up with some wild card ruling, and then there is precedent. So sometimes the Democrats don't want to take these yahoos to court because we don't want to lose to some crazy Trump appointed judge and then create precedent that makes it more of a law. So this we're really, it's a delicate situation. It's not like anybody's sitting back letting this happening. They're just realizing that they've been outplayed by the Republicans. The Republicans have spent, and the guys have told you this many times, the Republicans spent from the 1980s on hiring and grooming legal scholars that did nothing but go through the Constitution and the amendments and find out weak loopholes, gray areas, things that have not been tried, don't have a lot of precedent. And then they exacerbate it. They use the loophole over and over again. And the Democrats are like, wait, what's going on here? We don't even know what's going on. What do you mean this is gray? We thought this was a law. No, it's not a law. Oh, it's not a law. You know what I mean? So we're caught on the wrong foot. We don't think like that. We don't think like strategic authoritarians. We don't think like fascists. Because we don't think like fascists, we never saw it coming. We just never saw it coming. And now it's here. And now we're trying to back up and figure out how to fix it. We haven't had 20, 30, 50 years of money being poured into this process. We're just now realizing we got a problem. So we're really on the wrong foot here. Okay. So your next question is he getting direct payments from Russia? It's really, I mean, he's getting dark money. There's no doubt about that. I don't know that it's directly from Russia, but it is a slush fund, meaning that the monies can come from many countries into one slush fund. And that slush fund goes to another place, it goes to another place, and then it finally ends up in Tuberville's bank account. So they do this to try to make it hard to trace, right? Mainly he's doing this because he always wanted to be famous. He wanted to be powerful. He wanted to be, he's a messed up dude. He wanted to have the power. And you know what? Also this, really, you can't underestimate this. Honestly, guys, the baseline energy is almost always racism. I'm not kidding you guys. Okay, so it's classism or racism, one or the other. And Tuberville doesn't, I mean, what he's doing is hurting the United States of America. He's hurting us, our defense. He's hurting the security. He's hurting us in a, like, I forget Russia. He's doing it, right? He's really the Trojan horse, right? He's the thing that they delivered inside the Senate, and then out comes this, terrible person who's really attacking us from the inside. The call is coming from inside the house. Why is he doing that? Because, I mean, I'm just getting that he hates America. I mean, I know that sounds crazy. It sounds crazy to me, but he hates. He doesn't, he was a football coach, and a lot of his players were African-American or Black, and he didn't like them. He had to suck up to them because they were great players. He had great players. He knew how to suck up to them. He knew how to get them to perform or whatever, or help them become really good athletes. But he hated it. He hated that whole thing. It's almost like being gifted at something that you actually hate. He really saw from the inside out, in a way that most Americans don't see, that he feels like these Black players were amazing athletes, and at one after another were better than white men, just physically better, smarter at the game, better football players, better everything. He hated it. The dude actually hated it. So now he really feels he's another one of those people like Flynn, who wants America to go back to this Reconstruction, or back to Jim Crow. Basically is what he wants. He wants it to go back to Jim Crow. They want this. They also want this kind of royalty or authoritarian, or whatever structure it is. They want a ruling class, and then they want everybody else to be in their place. And it really rubbed him the wrong way that these football players were making so much money and that they were so physically amazing. It just drove him crazy. And he had to put up with it because that's where his money came from. That's where his fame came from. His fame was completely connected to their athleticism and their prowess on the field. What an interesting soul contract, right? I'm going to jump in this body. I'm going to find out that this whole race is better than me and I don't like them. And yet I'm tied to them to make money. I'm tied to them to have my fame. What a hellacious soul contract for this guy, right? It didn't work. He didn't learn his lesson, right? Instead, it made him double down on the reason he had the soul lesson in the first place. He didn't learn his soul lesson. So now here he was able to get out of that, which he didn't like, and get real power. His power's real. He's not dependent on an athlete doing something on a field. He has all the power. I am the all-powerful one. Watch me hold all this up. Watch me stick a stick in the cog of democracy. And that's what I feel like. I feel like a tire, and he just, boom, puts a stick in it. Oh, I ground all this to a halt? Aren't I powerful? This is his energy, right? And I know I went way into it, but when I went into his energy, it was all there for me. This is what I'm saying. Fonnie Willis, steal. Tommy, what do you like to know? Come on in, sit down, read all my energy. It's all there. Do you see the difference? That's why sometimes I'm able to go into these deep dives with these people, right? So the bottom line is he going to face any accountability, period? And I feel like, yes, I feel like there's a besmirched. I don't know why they use these words. He's going to be besmirched. He's going to be ruined. He's going to be be disowned. And I mean, Alabama is a big football, probably one of the biggest football states in the whole United States of America. And that's me having lived in Texas for the last, many decades, right? But Alabama is big football land. And I feel like he's going to lose his popularity and his fame. Respect. He's going to lose his respect. Is he going to go to jail? That's my question. Let's ask the most important question here. Is he going to go to jail? I see him after he is no longer a senator, because I don't think he's going to win his next election. And I'm not sure he's even going to make it to his next election, but I see him running from the law. Now, I don't mean this as in evading the law. What I mean is many indictments are flagging him, or he's constantly having to not answer the door because there's another process server. So he's being followed. He's being harassed, followed by the law. The law will continue to run him down because he's much like Trump in the sense that he doesn't know when to stop. He's going to continue to do things. He really, really believes that he is one of the 1%, that he is untouchable. And this is, again, back to the energy, right? This is the same energy. You're not untouchable. Tommy, you're just a human, and the United States of America has laws, and we're about to hold you accountable to any laws that you may have broken, right? So it's the same energy. Good Lord. Now, I do think that we're going to get around this military blocking that he's doing. Again, I told you guys that they're going to go into the Senate parliamentarian. They're going to find out some rules. They're going to find out some obscure rule. But I think that Biden is going to be okay with somebody making a deal. Somebody's going to make a deal with a Republican. There's going to be a deal made. There's going to be a backroom deal made with some Republicans to either remove him or to censure him. This is getting to be too much even for, see, again, we have those regular Republicans that I don't agree with, but they're more regular, like the Pence and they're still right wing, but they're not criminal in the Senate. And they're it's too much for them. Their stomach is churning. Again, they're being held hostage by the MAGAs. It's the same energy, right? It's the same energy applied a different way. Here's this group of Republicans that are being held hostage by this other group that's smaller. And they're not going to be held hostage either. It cannot, the pressure, they cannot withstand the pressure. I see the Republican Party either exploding. I've talked about this for 6 months at least. I see the Republican Party either exploding, separating into two parties, or exploding, and then cooler heads prevail. And when that happens, Tuberville's on the back burner. He's going to be censured. He's going to be removed. Something is going to happen to him. He's going to be put in the corner where he doesn't have as much power. Let's just do a few more. JSW Jan says, some are saying getting a hold of Trump's Twitter is no biggie. I disagree. What are your thoughts? Yeah. So when Twitter was called Twitter, Trump was tweeting, right? Even on Jan 6th, on Jan 7th, people were tweeting on Jan 5th. It's going to be wild. Remember that? Remember all those tweets all these people did? Yeah, it's going to be a big deal. I don't know who's telling you it's not going to be a biggie. If they're telling you it's not going to be a biggie, they're closet Republicans, they're closet MAGAs. It's time to use your discernment and disconnect from those people, because these tweets are basically the building blocks from which the case will be built. Maybe it's not the smoking gun per se, but it is very important to the case. And it's again, they're building this case very solidly with a solid foundation, so that by the time they get to the top, there's no denying it. There's no denying anything. It's an open, shut case. So yes, that's going to be a big deal. Let me do one or two more. Marky Brown says, I had to look this video up because I wasn't sure what you were talking about. Marky Brown said, what about the woman? So you remember, let me make it make sense. Make it make sense, Susan. Remember when McConnell was talking to the camera, giving just recently within the last month, and he just had a seizure and he just stood up, he just blanked out. And remember, they were trying to get his attention and get him off the stage. Marky's question is, there was a woman in a white suit and a green blouse, and you can see her on the video. She kind of shuffles her way to the front. There's a couple of people flanking McConnell on either side, men, I believe, in suits. And here comes this woman, and she kind of shimmies and excuse me, and makes her way to the front, which is in front of the cameras. And then she goes over to McConnell and pokes his elbow. Poke. Well, Marky's question is, what was up with her? Why aren't people talking about this? Well, what was up with her was she was already aware that McConnell was blitzing out, or, he was already having some issues. She was aware. The guys standing there were in front of the camera. And when you're in front of a camera, you're like, you're not really, you're pretending to be smiling, and so you're not thinking. You have to plaster this energy in front of you so that you can just be the supportive person standing next to the famous person. Well, they weren't. This woman was already in tune. Something's not right with McConnell. I don't know. She knew. I think she's been knowing that this was happening, and she was aware to watch for it. And so she is the first one who appeared, and she kind of shimmied her way in front of everybody and then grabbed his elbow. He was out. I mean, he was literally out. He was catatonic, right? And then when that happened, that's when the guy standing next to him was like, oh, snap. And then he was grabbing him, trying to get him to wake up out of this seizure. So that's what it was. It wasn't that she caused it or anything. She saw it before anybody else saw it, and she was trying to preempt it from happening. but it didn't work. So with that, I'm going to end this video. Look for part 2. Thank you so much for staying to the end. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for the views, you guys. Hey, I do this to be helpful. So I hope it is helpful. I hope you can maybe understand the energy behind why things are happening, what's going on. Maybe that'll spark your own internal intuition. What are you getting? Not thinking, but what are you getting about this stuff? So when you're having, this is very common, right? We watch other people do psychic readings and our psychic abilities start firing because it's like your subconscious goes, hey, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. I know what that's about, right? So if that's happening for you, hooray, fantastic. Leave me a comment in the below. I love to read your comments. Take really good care of yourselves. We'll talk again soon. Part 2 is coming. Yay for Fani Willis, right? For entertainment purposes only.